Fun fact, okay, Opus 4.7 is no longer the best model out there. GPT 5.5 is. So it took just a week to less less than a week to have Opus being overthrown by a new model. And I find this funny because those corporations are investing billions, okay, a lot of work to, a lot of dubious marketing strategies to convince us that they have the best model. That best model will change our life, okay, so we must have it. In reality, those models just give a little bit improvement. Sometimes you feel it, sometimes you don't. Most of the time, those improvements they show over time. Okay, in the sense in simple everyday use, the gap is so little that doesn't make a huge difference. Why I'm holding this, you might ask? Because this week also came out the Qwen 3.6 27 billion parameters. That is it's something incredible, because in 27 billion parameter, this model can be compared to Opus 4.5, okay, which is over 1 trillion parameters. And that used to be the top AI model just a few months ago. Now can run on this machine for free. Okay, you download it once, you connect to this, and then can run 24/7. No limit on tokens usage, no data trained out of your work, total privacy. You put this inside this machine and run for you 100%, even disconnected from internet. Now, what is this? This is the Asus GX X10, which inside is the same of the NVIDIA DGX Spark. So the internal is still the same, the box changes and done by a different company, okay? So I got this version. I'm gonna go back to, during this video, I'm gonna go back to this idea, because I need you to see, understand what a corporation strategy here was going on there, and what should be our strategy. So let's first analyze this GPT 5.5, because the first thing that you hear around, this is double of the cost of token, which is true, okay? Between the older version, the 5.4, and this new version, 5.5, the token cost is doubled, okay, which is a lot to think about. But there is a token efficiency to take in consideration. So for a simple task, okay, for a task that the older model would do and the new model will do, what we see is the newer model take less than half of the amount of token. So even though it costs double, because you use less than half, we actually save in money. And the output quality is also improved. A few percentage, don't expect like 10%, 20% better, no. Okay, just a few percentage better than the previous model. So we are an improvement, nevertheless, but we use less token, so we save money because of this, and because we use less token, we also have a faster output. Okay, so we have a series of wins here. The fact here is those corporations have a kind of weird way of measuring intelligence, okay? Because they keep saying this is PhD intelligence, and they keep pushing the narrative. In reality, like I said, those are little improvement, and the intelligence really comes from you. So if you spend more time thinking and planning, what you have a massive improvement. So it's not like a few percentage. No, we can improve our own project 100, 200, 300%. Okay, if we just spend more time thinking and planning. So have this in mind all the time, okay? So the biggest change in this dynamic is you, okay? You can control this. So the few percentage that they're selling to you, it's something to put in perspective. Now, what is this compared to Anthropic? Why I find it funny? Because for me, Anthropic just in the last few months, it just did a mess. Okay, it started going against the user that would use Anthropic Cloud Max with OpenClaw. Okay, and become harder and harder on them. So basically, it's unusable anymore. Or if you want to use it, you need to spend a lot of money, and it doesn't make sense because, like I said, you are the big factor. It's not the AI. So at that price, it doesn't make sense. There are better options. Now, what is happening with Opus? We had from 4.6 to 4.7, a little bit of improvement, okay, a few percentage improvement, but this AI needs to think longer. So even though the token cost is the same, now it think longer, so it costs you more. So that is the direction of OpenClaw. Okay, increase the cost, create an environment for privileged people to use it, and the narrative was to justify all of this that they have the most powerful AI. Okay, so this premium price would make sense because they give you a premium, a unique experience with those AI. A week later, that's no longer true. Okay, just a week later, it's no longer true. So now they're just expensive. And that's for me, it's so funny because their whole strategy was to create, this exclusivity. There is financial barrier that only a few people can afford it. You have this, exclusive club of using this top frontier model. Now it's no longer true. And because of how it's been behaving, this Anthropic, I'm actually happy. Now the thing here is, it's not like I like OpenAI. Okay, I personally don't. But nevertheless, okay, this is what's going on. So why? That is the reality out there. But I want to go back to this idea of open source, okay, models running locally, and what is the strategy of those companies. So it's been at the beginning, this token optimization is something that we've been asking for years, okay, since actually ChatGPT came out. It felt really, really insane, the amount of words that it would give you just to answer to something simple. So this just keep writing and writing this. So it was so much fatigue in interacting with this AI because of the amount of noise in the messages. So prompt engineers would start, okay, let's create a custom GPT and tell this AI, look, talk really minimalistic. Just give me signal and no noise. So you try to shorter the output and just stay focused on the topic and be clear. Don't tell me the thing 3 times. Just, stay focused. So it's been something that we've been trying to do all the time. But then if you think about, okay, why do I need to do it myself? Why you OpenAI don't give it to me right away? Okay, you give the system prompt that it's just more minimalistic. And then you start thinking, okay, so the strategy here for those corporations is to build an AI that only them can have it. So to build something that only those privileged people that can have it, it's about money. Okay, you create a barrier that unless you have billions, in this case, we're talking about billions to spend in this technology, you can't have it. Okay, that is how you divide people. Because if they would make it cheap, then everybody would have it. Okay, but if they make it extremely expensive, then only a class of people can have this tool. Now, to make it expensive at the beginning was about using a lot of token. Okay, so you need, because they were the only company have it, so they could design how much token I would give you per answer. So, and the token, I need to burn those tokens. Okay, you need a lot of tokens. Now, I have no proof about this, and this is not conspiracy theory. This is more math. So there might be a technological problem behind there, even though with my system prompt I could have fixed it, so I don't believe it was a technological problem. But nevertheless, the idea of burning token could have been managed, because I managed to manage myself, could have been managed by them, but they didn't. So there was an incentive of allowing us to use much more token than was needed. So burning token. So to have a machine that can burn so many tokens for so many people means you need a lot of power. Okay, a lot of those server need more and more GPUs. Having more GPUs means a cost. Okay, you need a lot of money to have those costs, to those GPU. And that creates this division between those that can afford it and those that can't. That is the first barrier. Now, this barrier, it was kind of made sense until coding started, because made sense for the business, for their mentality, their business model. Made sense until coding arrived. Because when we start doing coding, then the amount of token actually required to do coding is pretty a lot. And in reality, the noise made by long answer create a problem. So the idea of token optimization is the direction. Okay, now we have users that use much more token than before because it's not chatting anymore. Okay, it's actually building things. So the use case scenario now exists to have the use of a lot of token. So now to optimize for better output, optimize for winning against the competitors, OpenAI did this really good move finally to say, okay, let's optimize those token usage. Let's make it that, you know, the quality of those tokens actually matter. So the intelligence, let's call it intelligence per token is increased. That's what we need, increasing intelligence per token. Now, on the open source world, we see an intelligence per parameter. So like I said, this 27 billion model can do work the Opus 4.5, that is over trillion parameter, can do. And that is the, you see, there is something that start to show us an attitude, okay, a way of building, a way of working. So that 27 billion parameter can run here. Everybody can basically, it's expensive. Something, a machine like this one, it's around, it depends the version you buy, okay? But let's say the NVIDIA DGX Spark, okay, the standard. That will cost between $5,000 and $6,000, okay? It's the RAM prices keep oscillating, so it's hard to say. But that is more or less the price. Those version like this, my one, is cheaper than that one, but you get exactly the same hardware. The point here is this machine can be more or less owned by a lot of people. Okay, I mean, of course, it's not for everybody. For some people, too expensive, but a lot of people can afford something like this, and that means the entry level for having a local AI, your personal AI, is much lower than they made you feel, okay? Because they invest billions to have something that only 4 months later can run on this, okay? So Opus, you know, for really, honestly, for I think it was 4 months, maybe maximum 5 months, the 4.5 was the top level AI model, okay? Everybody was going crazy. That is the best thing. This is the closest to AGI. People, you know, going crazy because they can make, you know, software and so on. Yeah, now here, okay, now I can have it here. That is the thing. So, what's the difference here? So let's do some math, and I mean, rough math, and understand what's going on. So having a, if you use it a little bit, okay, you get the $20, for example, OpenAI account, and then you have your work. You use a little bit, that is more than enough. Some people use even less than that. There is also smaller model, smaller subscription. But let's say you want to use codecs and so on. You want to do some stuff with $20. You actually can do quite a lot. So most user, that is the cheapest path. But it's not a sovereign path, okay? That is something different, something that is sovereign, meaning that you own it, okay? It's private, 100% private, you need your local machine. So that is the biggest gap already. Okay, so having sovereignty, meaning having total control on your data, okay, total privacy on your data, okay, and no limit on the amount of token that you can use, that is the way. Okay, And I'm not saying that you need this powerful machine, because some smaller model, maybe not as powerful as this one, but smaller model can run on even a smaller machine. But that is the idea. That is the main difference. Then, if let's say that you are a power user, then you go into those account of 200, $100 or $200 per month. Okay, now those $100, $200 a month means it start to be quite a lot of money. Means with at $200 per month, you start to pay this back in 2 years. So now, two things. Okay, you could have this one and paid at once, or instead of 2 years in months installment, but in the 2 years installment, you have a much more powerful model. At the same time, you have limited token, okay, at zero privacy. So there is also that part. So it's the math here is really complex. I personally, what I do, I have a mix of reality. I have this one local model, work for me, total privacy, love it. I can experiment, learn a lot, and so on. But then I also have a GPT subscription. For example, now I close my Opus, Cloud Max subscription because of Anthropic. It really start a fight against OpenClaw. So I didn't want to use it anymore. So now I have GPT. And then, but also have open source frontier model, open source powerful model that run on the cloud. Okay, I use Minimax M2.7. That is too big to actually run on here, but it can run on the cloud. So it's still open source. It's something in the middle. Okay, it's cloud but open source. So I have all of those things because this is me. Okay, this is what I do. I learn, I experiment, I test things, and I'm building. So what I'm building now, if for you that are new, I'm building it's called Resonant OS, which is an operation system for running different AI agents. And then I'm building, there's a community called Resonant DAO, which is a decentralized autonomous organization. Link in the description, of course. The community meet on Discord, and I use all those elements to build this project. So that is how I use it, and those are my specific use case scenario. Your use case scenario, you need to understand what is the best thing for you. Don't allow those corporations to use marketing and your insecurity, let's say, to push you to say, I must have the most powerful AI model, otherwise, I'm not gonna make it. It's not true. Okay, it's the truth here is, if it's you need to think. Okay, AI doesn't do this thinking. Okay, AI has the knowledge, this PhD knowledge that can be applied to your project. But you are in control. That is your project. So your project can be improved, not a few percentage, but a lot, by if you work. And AI doesn't have this sensibility that is required to navigate this the present reality. So your intuition will guide you to better place than asking AI, what shall I do? Okay, because AI has no clue. AI can work as this PhD level knowledge, meaning knows what is already been said. Okay, it's not good in exploring the unknown. But we as a human, instead, we are really good at that. Okay, that is one of our best skill. And we had centuries of we as a human exploring this planet, okay, exploring the unknown. Not everybody has this exploration. There are people more than others. They love experiment, moving inside the unknown. Some people, they feel uncomfortable, but this is a human characteristic. So we are the explorers. Okay, we are the pioneers. And now in this AI world, in this new world, we are the pioneers that need to, to map the land. AI is something that can augment our abilities to do this job. okay, but it's not capable of replacing us on this pioneering exploration. Can be good in replacing things that have been done and codified, like writing code. Okay, code is something that is easy to test because you can know if works or not. Okay, write me a video game, then you play the video game, you see it's broken or not, works or doesn't work. Okay, it's like I want it or not. So you see this video game and then give feedback to the AI. And then through having AI working on those feedbacks, at the end you have the machine, the game that you want. That's how you need to work. So you are the North Star for the AI, okay? You are the North Star. And your North Star should be something else, okay? It should be your philosophy, it should be your values, it should be your vision. Okay, that's how it works. So you follow your intuition to go in a direction and you guide the AI to empower you and to augment your abilities. So that is what I wanted to say during this video. One thing, last few things. So join the community, of course, but like and subscribe, of course. And but there is a deep dive article that I share again in the link in the description, where you can read more and find out more about those things. It's a Substack newsletter, so you subscribe and you stay connected. Thanks a lot for staying until the end, and have a wonderful day. Ciao.